Hey, what's up, guys? This is 10-8 round. We are back, man. We've been gone for quite some time, but hey, we're back at it. You know, me and Josh have been talking, running some new ideas, and we just saw UFC 239, which was probably the best card of the year,
Madness.
if not the best card I've seen in 5 years, man. That shit was crazy.
If there was one card to not give the finger to Dana White and actually pay for it, it was this card.
It was, and
this card.
we've seen it in the past too. We've seen it so many times where a huge card, you know, is the most sick card ever, and it just doesn't deliver. And this one did, and it lost in Ngannou and JDS. It lost that fight.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be on that card.
Probably a good thing it lost that fight though, because that was just.
I mean, it would be fun. It would be fun. We saw what happened. I mean, the whole night was just. Honestly, it was one of those times where I had friends over watching it that aren't, you know, huge fans. Or just not even
It's
really
one of those
casual
cards
fans.
that brings the people together.
It was.
Not the same level of attraction, but kind of like the boxing match with. Let's not even get into that anymore. But the one that brought everybody. There's people in my house who haven't ever watched a boxing match ever, and it was, who's this guy fighting?
It was exciting, and it was fun. It was honestly like such a great time, just for everyone involved. And again, 239 was just, it was a card that you couldn't miss, and there's so much to talk about on it. Really, it's
good there's so much to talk about now, because the next three events there's like nothing to talk about.
Maybe we might watch them
until they happen.
The cards that air, the cards that start at 3 a.m. sometimes they produce, and people like them. Sometimes those are the ones that people don't see, and they're the ones that are good. But this time it just happened to be the one in the limelight was the one that was the one, man. One of the best cards of the year, of course. And again, there's a lot to talk about getting into it. I picked a couple fights early on. Josh wasn't able to see a few of the first fights, but again, not too many that I would go over. The first one I saw that I just thought was at least worth talking about was Edmund Shabazian taking on Jack Marshman. And like going into that fight, right? I'm a big gambler, and I'm a degenerate gambler. I'm a piece of shit. But sincerely, like Jack Marshman, he was 23-8 coming in. The dude can bang. I mean, he's fought 6 times in the UFC coming into this fight, and every time, I mean, it's not like he's just an easy out. Like, you know, the guy could fight. He likes to brawl, and he could give a lot of people trouble. And you're looking at a kid in Edmund Shabazian who is 9-0 coming into the fight. Again, who knows? I mean, the book's not written yet on the kid, but he still comes in. He shows promise. But in the UFC, he won a fight before. He won by split decision, his first fight in the UFC. And then he comes in and he wins by TKO. So it's impressive, obviously. But you don't really know what you're looking at yet when you look at Shabazian. The kid comes in. Jack Marshman's standing there. They start the fight. This is one where I'm like, I mean, it's worth a flyer on Marshman, because the guy's been there forever. Kid comes in, looks unbelievably fast. Striking was really good. Shoots down, double leg, gets Marshman against the cage. Brutal ground and pound. And this is like when you don't even have like a real position. He's not in stacked guard. He's not in mount. He just took him down. They're kind of still like in a, you know, Marshman's trying to recover. They're not in like he's not in a wildly dominant position. And he just starts blasting Marshman. And Marshman, you could tell right away, is like, fuck, like this kid came to fight. The round continues, whatever. Ends up, Edmund chokes him out early in the first. And just to do that to a guy who has 30-plus fights so quickly for a kid who's 9-0, it was just, to me, it was definitely the highlight of the prelims. And it's like now, this is my thing. Like, Edmund Shabazian had 2 fights in the UFC before this. I'll be completely honest. I didn't really, you know, I didn't know him. I didn't really follow him. But now, you know what I mean? With that third win and against a guy like Jack Marshman, he's a guy that, you know, I'm going to look out for. I see his name on a card.
I didn't see it, but 3-0 is about 3-0 at the peak. People call it the peak, the UFC, the peak of competition. Some eyes. I mean, 3-0 is 3-0.
Right.
If you come in with a decent name and you win 3 in a row, you're granted a title shot.
Right.
So
no,
maybe
exactly.
Give him that pay-per-view opener.
Yeah, no, and I agree. That's a good point.
ESPN prelim headline.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, bump him up a little bit.
That's a good point. It really is too. Like, again, you win you win 3 or 4 in the UFC, especially as a young kid. He's 21 years old, and he won his 3rd fight. And it's like, okay, well, what's next for this kid? And when I was looking at all these fights, and we'll talk about a couple later,
Which one? Are we going to cover Askren and Masvidal?
Are we?
It wasn't that exciting.
I'm wearing the Masvidal shirt.
It wasn't that exciting.
No, it was kind of a snoozer, but if
pun intended.
Yeah, it was a snoozer. But what I wanted to do too when I was breaking down these fights is just kind of talk about what's next, maybe for some of the fighters. I looked at this one for Marshman. I'm not trying to be rude. I like Jack Marshman as a fighter. I think he's a great guy. I don't know that he has another fight in the UFC. If he does, maybe a guy debuting, something like that. Like, you're not going to get a guy who's 3-4 in the UFC. You're really kind of at your end unless you've been impressive.
If you're going to hold that type of record at the peak, you need to have a name as somebody you could rely on, such as, we're going to touch base on it later, I think he's out there. A Diego.
Right.
Me personally, I'm a little bit worried about him. BJ Penn.
Right.
He hasn't won in so long, but it's BJ Penn.
Exactly. The name value
seems to be remotely healthy. If the guy says he needs to fight. If he says he wants to, you owe it to him.
Yeah, then that's true. But again...
But this guy doesn't have anywhere near that.
Exactly. We're talking about a guy who doesn't have that level of camaraderie with the UFC at 3-4.
No, I mean, the only thing I can say about Diego is obviously no belts in the UFC. Tough season 1 winner. And as far as I know, he's the only one from that season who is still active in MMA. He got Lieben over in bare knuckle.
Right.
That's for a different day, coming off a loss. He might be done now. That's for a whole different topic, different day. But tough season 1, if you're still healthy enough to be fighting, you may not be. Your brain might be moldy, apparently. But
you know what I think too. What I sincerely think though is, and again, I like Diego. I like watching Diego is great, and we'll get into that fight for sure.
That's all I can keep.
We'll get into his cornerman later too. But honestly, my not problem, but my thought is, why have Diego Sanchez fight and beat a guy like Mickey Gall? Unless you really thought Mickey Gall was going to beat Diego Sanchez, which personally I did.
Mickey Gall was never a world beater. I think personally Mickey Gall played the publicity game well. Now Mickey Gall's, his jiu-jitsu is world. It's
right, top notch.
It's ridiculous. If he never... The stars aligned the right way for him that night. Dana White was there. I believe it was the Looking for a Fighter show. I'm not sure.
Yep.
Take advantage of it.
Yeah,
I think if that never happens, that's going to be another likely possible solid local card in the tri-state area, because a lot of them are, and it just fades away.
That's
I mean, I can name a couple of locals now who are better than Mickey Gall.
Right.
But it's just take advantage of it, and that's, again, to lead into later. Maybe his recent track record isn't too impressive, but Masvidal and Askren, he's the hot ticket right now. Give him that strap. Give him the shot at it.
That's true. And while we're talking about fights to make, obviously we're going to talk about fights to make all night. Again, I said that I'm not really sure that Jack Marshman fights again in the UFC. If he does, I mean, I'm obviously rooting for the guy. I like to see him fight. He's fun to watch. He brawls. He brings it every time. But for Edmund Shabazian, a guy I was looking at who name has not been brought up in a while, but I'm not sure if you're even wildly familiar with Tom Breese. His name is.
Not totally.
Englishman, 4-1 in the UFC. Lost to Sean Strickland. Lost a decision to Sean Strickland. And I don't know, like Tom Breese, I feel like that is a good litmus test for Shabazian. Or Breese. Breese is 4-1 in the UFC. Shabazian's 3-0. Whoever wins that fight, you're not really hurting the other one's stock. And I just think you could kind of see where both guys are. So to me, I just think that would be a decent fight to make. And again, it's hard to tell with the young guys. Do you give them a trash can, if you really want to build their name? Or do you actually put them against someone competitive? Talking about this fight, I think you put Shabazian against someone competitive. The way he looked good. And we'll see what happens from there. But, the next fight that we're about to talk about, which is, to me, it was a pretty wild fight. Again, it was kind of one of those that I love to gamble. I'm a degenerate gambler. And when I saw the lines, Alejandro Perez was the underdog to who I'll admit, unfamiliar with, Song Yadong. And as I looked up Song Yadong,
He's a monster.
is a monster,
He's
dude.
a monster.
His professional
He's a
debut, he was 15.
Mm-hmm.
He was 15. He fought guys that were 29 years old when he was 15 and 16 and beat them. Again, he had a couple losses back in the day, but like he's 21 now. He's 21 now and he's 15 and 3, I believe. Just an absolute monster. But again, I wasn't wildly familiar with him. I know that looking at Perez going in, he was 7-2-1. He had one draw in the UFC. But 7-2 in the UFC, a pretty good record against a kid who is 3-0 in the UFC. And I just thought Perez wasn't really getting his credit. So that fight starts. Instantly, you could see Song Yadong striking. Unbelievable. Like, his hands were so fast. Accurate. Like his strength, you could just see it. His body's built for that Division II, and I'll never. This is literally ingrained in my head. Alejandro Perez throws an inside leg kick and absolutely perfectly down the pipe. Song Yadong cracks him.
The best counter to an inside leg kick is that rear hand down the middle.
It's exactly what it was, and it put him out cold. It put him out cold again. Perez 7-2-1 in UFC. He's no slouch. He was ranked 13th at the time. So to see a kid do that I am not really familiar with, similar to the Edmund Shabazian fight, now he's on my radar. Like, I'm stoked to see who Song Yadong fights next because that's a guy I want to see. I like exciting fighters. Obviously,
he's very cold-hearted too. I like it. Not cold-hearted, but the way he's there for business.
Yeah, he's there to fight,
I like it.
Is good at it. He is very good at it.
Even for being 21, you need a translator, obviously, but you could tell when he's speaking, he's not a 21-year-old. Mm-hmm. He's not. He's not at all. No, and
that, like, honestly, to be that good at fighting at 21 years old is absolute insanity. And even looking at that fight, again, at the end of it, I'm trying to look at fights to make for both fighters, if I think it makes sense. Alejandro Perez, again, coming to the fight 7-2-1. No slouch in the UFC, but you have to then think about who's next. Two names I had: John Dodson, who I think he fought a lot of good competition, but Dodson's 9-6 in the UFC. Not an overwhelmingly good record. Again, a lot of his losses are against top tier guys.
He's a very stiff test. He's
Dodson's a good fighter, and he wins fights.
The old term. He let him be the gatekeeper.
Yeah,
it's the old term.
But that's true too. Is that really the fight that Dodson would want? I don't know. I can't imagine, but maybe
if you're in his shoes, he can't be this picky right now.
No, and that's a really good point. And the other one, and that's Dodson came off a loss to Peter Yan, who is now people are looking at him like the next guy up. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's a decent fight to make. And then the other one I was looking at for Perez, just my own opinion again, obviously, Brian Kelleher, who I was pretty high on right away. He came out, he beat Renan Barao.
I've known of Brian Kelleher many years ago. I cornered against him actually for New Breed Fighters. My good buddy Ken Supsick fought him. It doesn't matter now. He's in the UFC now, but at that day, I didn't know who he was. And Kenny's a very tough dude. He used to do the old street fighting gigs, like pay to play type of deal.
Right.
And this boy just. And at that point, it was like this guy's going somewhere, and then he's there now. He's a very, very strong dude, very, very nice guy, but it's like a bus.
And honestly,
when he hit him that night, we're going years back, so he obviously hits harder now. He's stronger now. He's faster now. It sounded like the old white man pulling out the Christmas ham for the family dinner on Christmas. He just every time, like, look at this. Every time, jab over. It didn't matter.
The smack.
Every time, it was just dead whale on the beach. Slap it. That's what it sounded like. Every time.
Like, looking at Kelleher though too, like I actually am excited to see him fight. He's always, again, he fought Renan Barao, beat Renan Barao, but 3-3 in the UFC, coming off a loss to Montel Jackson.
That shocked me.
Yeah, and honestly, again, it's so weird with these, like, new fighters coming up, young kids. Like, I don't know. It's hard to tell. Like, could Song Yadong win a title right now? Probably not. But could he in 3 years, 2 years? Maybe. Like, it's so hard to tell the difference, the gap in skill now with a guy who's 21 years old, literally grew up training MMA, versus, again, like a guy like Kelleher, who I don't think he's very old, maybe early 30s. But, like, you're talking about a guy like Kelleher who, you know, he likes MMA, is obviously a sport that he loves, but he didn't grow up knowing about the UFC.
He's a wrestler.
You know?
He's a wrestler.
Right. So it's always hard to tell, but I think, again, that's we're talking about Alejandro Perez still, who I think, you know what I mean, the Kelleher fight I think is a fun fight. I think it would actually be an exciting fight. If I'm going to make one or the other, I like that one more, just because I think Dodson might be a more boring fight.
I would like, now this means nothing, it's going to be a one-time said and done for back in the day nostalgia regions in the regional areas. I would like to see Kelleher and Jimmy Rivera.
Yeah. Well, not what, like, again, doesn't make sense the ranking wise.
No.
But just
again, this is for nostalgia from years ago.
Personal.
We were always in the same. I'm like, these boys are fucking animals, dude.
Yeah.
Animals. It's again not gonna happen, because I think Rivera's ceiling is a lot higher still, even though he's been in a little bit of a down roll.
Of course.
We're getting off track now with that, but
for sure. I mean,
I would like it. That would be fun. That would be fun.
Looking at a guy like Song Yadong, he is 4-0 in UFC. Where does he go from here? Just obviously won his fourth fight, knocked out Alejandro Perez, looked good doing it. There's a couple names I looked at, two of them that I liked personally. One was Cody Stamann, who is 4-1 in the UFC right now. He was coming off that loss to Aljamain. He was 3-0. Then fought Aljamain, which I thought was kind of crazy at 3-0 in the UFC, but he had a good record outside.
No shame in losing to him, man.
No, absolutely not. Aljamain is one of my favorite bantamweights for sure. He just he's always been. I like the way he fights. He's fun to watch. But loses to Aljamain, and then he comes back and he beat Alejandro Perez by decision. So that's obviously a guy Song Yadong just fought. They're on like a good parallel for fighting right now. Stamann has, it would make sense to make the matchup. And again, at 4-1, a guy who's 4-0, I think that fight would just be an interesting fight. And another guy too I looked at was Rob Font, who I don't think gets really not enough credit, but like we don't talk about Rob Font enough. He's 6-3 in the UFC, but coming off a Sergio Pettis win, which will boost you up because everyone was so high on Sergio Pettis, who I'm not like a Sergio Pettis hater or anything, but it's just he hasn't really proved too much in the UFC. And I just think it's a fun fight. Rob Font, like a good striker, long dude. I just think that that Song Yadong fight, Rob Font. I mean, that could be a fun one to make.
I agree.
Good.
I'd be okay with that. Very okay with that.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. That's one I was looking at, but that was the end. Or no, was that on the that was on the ESPN prelim? I can't remember what prelim it was on. It was on one of the prelims, but they're all messed up now. It's all on the same fucking thing. You watch one prelim, you see every prelim. But the next fight that we're getting to, which was definitely a prelim, I think it was a headliner, right? It was Gil and Allen.
That was the main event on ESPN.
All right, yeah. So the main event of the ESPN prelims, Gilbert Melendez versus Arnold Allen, and that fight was interesting. Again, Josh, you were talking about a little bit. It was just kind of a
setup fight. Gilbert still has a name, but not every, because it's no promotions as notable as the UFC. But the UFC does it a while. They see a young bull who's on his way up, and then you got this name who what did Allen win, his last 6?
I think
and Gil lost his last 4, and now his last 4 losses were against bad dudes.
Right.
But he still carries that name.
Exactly.
Like, who's Gilbert? Who's this guy Gil Melendez is fighting? Well, if you really don't watch because you're gonna see.
Exactly.
It was a feeder fight.
And
I still prefer Melendez to go back to 55.
No, and I agree with that. I think your opinion on the fight is pretty much spot on. Arnold Allen's a guy who is no joke. I think at the time he's either 5 or 6-0 in the UFC taking this fight.
It's just a way to boost him up. If you put him against somebody else and somebody else who's not really known,
right?
You got people flipping the channels, but you're casual, a little bit more than casual, then you're a big time fan. Oh shit, it's Gil Melendez, and I'm still gonna watch him. That's a Strikeforce boy. He's with the Diaz brother.
Right.
You're gonna watch them.
It's marketing.
You're gonna watch
it's marketing and fighting.
That's all it is.
Honestly, too, like when I watched that fight with Gil, like I I mean, I always was intrigued to see Gilbert fight. I can't ever say I was the biggest Gilbert Melendez fan, but I always wanted to see him fight. And if his name was on a card, I wanted to see it. But in the same respect, I was shocked when I was looking back to see Gilbert lost so many in a row, or like whatever it was, 5 out of 6 or whatever it was, 6 in a row. I can't remember.
Bad dudes though.
And that's for sure. But again, he came into the Shark Tank that was the UFC at the time, and then just kind of he never flourished. Which again, it's no knock on Gilbert, but when you're fighting a guy at this level, Arnold Allen, again, he is 15-1. You're fighting that guy in the UFC, and you get beat like you did. And again, I'm not saying he didn't get the brakes beat off him or anything, but Arnold Allen clearly won the fight. He clearly controlled the whole time. Honestly, the first half of the first round, what might have been the only time Gilbert won, and just with control and pace and pressure. And then Arnold Allen started throwing combinations.
Take it over. That's it. He just
great body shots, and he took the fight over.
It right over.
And then he won the rest of the fight handily. And it's hard to say that like who do you want to see that Gilbert Melendez fight next? Personally, nobody. And I'm not telling him to retire. I mean, I obviously wouldn't give a fuck if I was. But seriously though, like I don't know who he fights. Like what makes sense? It kind of feels to me like BJ Penn.
I was just gonna say that. Just you know what? Both these guys should maybe hang it up.
It is what it is.
How the mighty have fallen, though.
It's true though, and
that would be like a UFC Fight Pass prelim on a pay-per-view. Like
that would be the main event. Main event in Glasgow.
You put that as the late December card, which you know it's going to be stacked. It always is.
Right, and that's the main event, the prelim.
I believe that one is an MSG. I'm
is
not
it?
Sure. I believe one of them coming up. It is November, December, because that's going to be loaded with local boys. But I don't know. Do it. I mean, Gil Melendez. Like if I seen him fighting this past weekend, it's like, if I'm home, I'll watch it.
Yeah, you're not
BJ. I'm gonna still stop to watch BJ. I know. I know it's bad.
I didn't care after the Ryan Hall fight, to be completely honest. The Ryan Hall fight, I was just like,
stupid,
and I love Ryan Hall. Don't get me wrong.
That was a dumb matchup for BJ Penn. Ryan Hall's a G. Is a long, lanky jiu-jitsu son of a bitch. He's just
absolutely
as soon as I saw they were fighting, I'm like, why?
I know. I mean, I just.
But
as soon as I see BJ Penn fight,
at least I hope he's doing. I do hope he's doing well. He's a pioneer, but at least BJ Penn did get his first win in a long time a couple weeks ago outside the bar with that bouncer.
Yeah, so that was. I mean, there you go. Maybe he's on the winning, maybe he's coming back. That's all he needed was a little bit of a streak. Anyway, we talked about that fight a little bit. I think that, again, if you watched it, Arnold Allen won that fight pretty easily.
100%.
And that was the one thing I did want to bring up was Gilbert in his corner. I think it was between the first and it was either between the first and second. Obviously, it was either the first or second and third. There's only 2 corners you can go to, but I think it was between the first and second round. He sat in his corner, and they said, like, "How are you feeling?" That's the first thing they said. "How are you feeling?" He goes, "I don't know." That's what he answered back with, and. Like, again, I am a big proponent of someone to say, if you are half out the door, you probably shouldn't be doing it because there's killers coming up and they couldn't care less who you are, what you've done.
No, they can't care less, man. It's not a basketball game. You're not going to cross over,
right?
I don't know, name anybody and be like, oh, hey, man, like, no,
it doesn't matter. It's a different sport, and there's killers there. That's going to go into
another topic that we're going to get into because there's a lot of people hating on somebody right now, and they shouldn't be.
Quickly, before we go, which I want to get there.
I can't wait.
For someone who I thought of Arnold Allen, and honestly, this is going to come maybe as a surprise to you, which is, it might, I don't know. But it's 6-0 in the UFC. I was looking at rankings, and I was looking at different fighters in the UFC. I think a fight that really makes sense, which is going to be a good test for Allen and a good test for this fighter, Renato Moicano. Just got beat by the Korean Zombie. Got pushed a little heavier than he probably should have. I mean, look at his wins.
Still a bad dude, though.
Well, look at his wins.
Bad dude.
It has. What's his best win? Probably Calvin Kattar, who again is a pretty good fighter at this point right now. His losses: Zombie, Aldo, Ortega.
Yeah, anytime he gets that push. All
bad dudes, but would that not be a good one to see? Like, I think that
I'd be okay with it.
If you,
I think the not so new anymore owners are ruining matchups, but that's for a whole different show.
Right.
Let's not get going on that because I'll be here till midnight. But
I don't think it's the sexiest fight you could do, but I think to get Allen's name out there, I don't
want, as an old school fan, and I'm sure maybe a lot of people agree, as a legitimate fan, not the keyboard warrior. I don't care about the second. I want the fights that make sense.
Right.
Stop the shit. Stop the shit talk. Stop the drama. 1 fight, 2, 3. Just go down the pipe.
Right.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
If you're gonna pump out these rankings like you do, and then have, I mean, there's a couple of weird situations coming up.
Right.
Number 8 fight. No.
I mean, look at Bisping versus Rockhold. But again, Bisping won. So I'm not wildly against the off-ranking fights if they make a little sense.
No, Bisping was on a rip. Bisping is such a weird. He got so much better as he got older. It was
weird. It was for sure weird, and for sure.
I love Bisping.
I always hated Bisping. I did.
I love
honestly,
him.
But by the end of his career, I was like, all right. He did what he did, but that's all right. I never liked him, but I respected at the end of his career. I really did. The whole main card. When you look at this, that was the thing about this card. It was one that it was supposed to promise probably the best card of the year, and then it delivers, and you don't always expect that. I mean, you could really, as an MMA fan, you could never expect something to be the best card of the year.
You could load a card with names that it might be a dud. I mean,
and that happens all the time. Yeah. But this one, I mean, from top to bottom, main card was insanity. It was insanity. Like, every single fight was great. Obviously, even the opener, like Chiesa Sanchez, which I assume would be. Is that the fight that would have been pushed if it was the Ngannou fight was on there? Right? That would have been pushed to the I think that was probably the one. But honestly, that one being on the pay-per-view, like, that made, in my opinion, a lot of sense, and it was a great fight. Like, great fight to see.
Anything as soon as Diego started walking out, nothing after that made sense as to what was going on. That was weird.
The bucket run was fun.
The whole 3 weeks ago, walking out of that gym and hiring some guy who had him training for 2 weeks with sticks and blindfolds. It's not your cup of tea. It's not Jean-Claude Van Damme in Bloodsport. Like, after the salt, you remember and everything.
Maybe it could have been. Maybe that's what he thought it was.
No, it wasn't, because he got pounded out bad.
That's true. Michael Chiesa looked great in this fight. Obviously, if you've seen the fight,
on him like a snail.
You know what? I thought I was watching this fight with my buddies who don't hugely know the sport, but I'm sitting there watching it, and within 20 seconds, Diego shoots on Michael Chiesa, and all I could think in my head is like, what? Why? Why would you? Why?
Well, keep in mind that the only guy in his corner, his best advice was yelling, "Crack the coconut." That was one that was said.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe it was.
You could hear that on the replay, yeah.
In between 1 and 2 or 2 and 3, all you heard was, "It is what it is. Keep on going." Even Rogan said, like, "Wow, great advice."
Great advice. Yeah, I heard it as non-advice.
I don't. Dana White saying he has to have a long talk with Diego. I think it's not going to be retire. I think it's going to be, you need to find a gym or you're not going to fight in here again. Because I'm not going to have a circus like that on my show.
You know what, though? Honestly, watching that fight, and I'm not saying Michael Chiesa didn't win that one 30-26.
No, Diego's resilient as hell.
That was, to me,
one of the most
impressive
There was a couple times
things.
I sat back like, oh.
Yeah, like, that motherfucker would not stop. And honestly, then I thought about it. I'm like, when has he ever stopped?
Well,
he'll never stop. Like, that's Diego. He is fun to watch. He's obviously exciting TV. But again, that's the thing. Do you feed him kids like a Mickey Gall who you want to push?
No, I think you need to, I don't know, ask him if he wants to go to 55, give him one more fight that he could smoke and go out on a good note.
And that's
it.
I was looking at, obviously, like, I was looking at a bunch of different stats and stupid shit when I was looking these fights up. But Diego Sanchez, which I was shocked by when I looked it up, started his career 17-0.
Mm-hmm.
He was 7. I couldn't believe it. I've been a fan of this sport for years, probably since I was 12 years old. I'm 26, so I'll tell you the number. But I was shocked he would start at 17-0. Like, I couldn't believe that was the number. Since he's 29-12. So it just shows that 17-0, 29-12,
mm-hmm.
12-12 since his 17-0 start. He has been obviously lackluster at times, but he's also shown at times, like, dude, like honestly, when he fought Mickey Gall and beat him like that, Mickey Gall gassed bad.
I lost money on that fight.
Me too. And honestly, I was just a big Mickey Gall guy, but then it shows you too, like maybe he just got pushed too quick, which was obviously the case in hindsight. But I was thinking Mickey Gall is going to destroy Diego Sanchez. And then Mickey Gall runs out of gas in 3 minutes, and Diego Sanchez beats the fucking piss out of him, dude. And that is the shit that's why I love the sport. That's why everyone loves the sport. The unpredictability is the best thing about it. But I don't know. Diego Sanchez, again, who does he fight? What makes sense?
Nothing with Diego makes sense at this point.
Only thought on it, which I have nothing written down, but I just thought of it as we were talking. 55, both agree, go to 55. Diego Gill, too. They both fucking retire after it. That's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Like, if Diego could get down, I don't know. Again, he's up to 70. You know, he's older. He's at
soft
70.
70, though.
Maybe he's...
It's a soft 70.
He would make 55 for that fight. And I think Gill going up... Gil could obviously make 55. Like,
yeah.
Do it again at 55. That was one of the best fucking fights I remember ever seeing. Like, one of my top 10 favorites for sure.
It was fun.
And why not do that one again? Looking at Chiesa, obviously, again, we talked about the fight. Just his grappling transitions in that fight. That was something that I thought, like, as I was watching it, I'm like, he's just chaining every fucking roll, dude.
Very imposing.
And like, Rogan was talking, he's like, oh, he's so big. Like, he's
a big boy. He was playing chess, Diego was playing checkers, is how I looked at it.
Yeah, and that's...
I know he requested top 10. He's not in the top 10. I want Magny. I think that'll be fun.
For Chiesa?
Yeah. I think that'll be fun.
This is the one I was not impressed with myself. Listen, I was looking at rankings. I was looking at fighters. This is the fight that I really like, that I think if someone else hears this, they'll be like, I like that fight. Tony Martin. Tony Martin. He went up to welterweight, 4-0 rip. Just lost to Damian Maia, which Damian Maia does Damian Maia. But, dude, I think matchup-wise, honestly, Tony's jiu-jitsu is sick. Chiesa's jiu-jitsu is sick. Both their
going
striking
on a rip
is
like
right.
that and coming off a loss, I don't think he'll take that fight.
Chiesa?
Martin. I don't think he'll take it.
Oh, nah. I feel like it's... I'm coming from the camp that you just do what you're told, son. You know what I mean?
Well,
go back home. And I don't know that Tony Martin has that much pull in the UFC really to say that, no, I'm not taking it.
Yeah.
But Tony's had some impressive wins, dude. Like, and knockouts, subs. I mean, Tony has been there forever, and honestly, he's kind of just on a little bit of a hot streak. Just got extinguished, but dude, I think that Chiesa fight. I just think
that could make sense. That could, I mean,
and they're very recent. The Damian Maia Chiesa fight just happened.
Yeah,
you know they're on the same.
Both are relatively. Yeah, no, I like that.
I like that fight. That was one that I thought.
What is he ranked now?
Who?
Tony?
Yeah. I think he dropped. I think he was like at 14 or 13 or 14.
I don't think Chiesa expects that fight.
You don't think Chiesa
wants... Or accepts, not expects. He was demanding a top 10.
Chiesa was saying?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Magny's not top 10.
No.
Now, Magny's definitely ranked ahead of this boy.
Tony Martin?
Yeah.
I don't know. Because Magny hasn't fought since... When is Magny's last fight? Was that... And I'll talk about this guy, too, which we'll get to. Was Magny's last fight the Ponzinibbio loss? Which is wildly long ago. And I feel like it is. And if it is...
Martin's not even on here.
Is Magny?
Magny is 13.
I'm surprised. I am surprised. I'll say I'm surprised by that. But...
Also, honestly, looking at it now, I think, again, it depends. I don't know how high Dana White is on Chiesa. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kobe and Robbie coming up very soon.
Yeah.
Robbie wins, he's going to move up a little bit. Kobe loses, he's going to move down.
Right.
Kobe wins, he's going to, I wish he would go away. He's going to be around.
Right.
Robbie's going to drop a little bit.
Robbie and Chiesa?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. If you're selling me that fight, I'm fucking buying every single second of it. But is it... well, when is that fight? When is the Kobe-Robbie fight? That's pretty soon, right?
In Newark in a couple weeks.
Oh, really?
I believe August 3rd.
Oh, okay. So time-wise, it makes sense. Yeah. Ah, fuck it. Dude, I like that fight. You know what I don't like, though? I feel like... And I'm just, just spitballing here because I haven't really thought about it. But, like, I feel like Kobe probably wins that fight. I feel like it's probably not the best fight we've ever seen. Just in my quick opinion of it. I haven't watched any film. I haven't really thought about it much. But if Kobe were to lose that fight, I don't like Chiesa Kobe personally. But
No.
Chiesa
No.
Robbie is a fucking fun fight.
I personally think I think Colby's gonna get his face beat in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ready for the smoke. I don't.
That's why we watch the fucking thing, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we watch it.
Robbie came out like so mad and focused with Askren.
Yeah.
And then that fight went down the way it is.
See, we're almost there, bro. I'm wearing the fucking Masvidal uniform today, and I can't wait to get there.
I don't think Colby's ready for it, and I really hope I'm right because I cannot stand him.
I don't hate Kobe. I kind of he
tries to troll people, but he's not even good. Like, you're just annoying.
No,
Go away.
Is Ben good?
He's like that kid.
Ben's fun.
He's like that kid in gym class when the teacher says we're playing hockey today. He has no idea what he's doing. He's gonna constantly hit in the shins with his goddamn stick.
Mm-hmm.
Just get away. Just leave.
All right. I mean, that's fair.
Stop your annoying patriotic shit because we know why you're doing it because it's so transparent why you're doing it. Right.
Come on. Honestly, yeah, I like Kobe. I think he's a fair fighter. I'm interested to see what happens, but I think he wins. I think he wins that fight. But going, dude, from that Sanchez fight again, a good opener to pay-per-view to the next fight, which was fucking. I'm not going to say shocking. Personally, I'm not going to say shocking. I wasn't shocked by it.
No.
I didn't expect it. But Rockhold, Jan Blachowicz. And honestly, I was never a Rockhold fan. And this is one that I could just say I was never a big Rockhold fan. I was never really a Rockhold fan at all. But just talking all that shit and then the result that was the result, it's fun. That's fun. That shit's fun. Like, for even if you're not a huge fight fan, to see that shit, like, that's what everyone likes to see. The fucking shit talker get beat. And then we saw it twice in a row. But we'll talk about it. Rockhold obviously talks so much shit in the division. I mean, him and Anthony Smith back and forth about it, talking about how nobody's there in the top 10. Everyone in the top 10's a bum, blah, blah, blah. And he just kept going on about it. And then he fights Jan Blachowicz, who honestly is 7-5 in the UFC, which is surprising that he's ranked 6th. That was 6th going into the night.
Big boy. He's a big boy, man, and he moves good for that size.
He is, and honestly, I'm not even talking shit on him. I'm just saying that, like, he's 7-5 and he's ranked 6th. Like, and he just beat, and that's before that. He was ranked 6th before he beat Rockhold. He'll probably be 3 or 4. No, 3.
I ain't gonna give him 3.
4 or 5. 4 or 5 at
5.
7-5.
I'll give him a 5.
That's a little surprising, don't you think? 7-5, a little high. But I feel like the weight class, and again, not really talking shit on it. I'm just saying that weight class is
gutted.
It's light. It's light.
Gutted.
Like,
it's gutted.
You got, again, we'll talk about too, but like, who's there? Who's coming up? Regardless. Anyway, we see the fight. It starts. Rockhold goes in. Just kept opening with those high kicks. Remember that? As it started, he threw like 3 or 4
as soon as that sleeve came down, he changed. He got worried, it seemed like. And
I thought it was bizarre. I thought it was bizarre that he obviously, and I kind of agree. Like, and what does the sleeve matter? There's tape on it too, but
I wasn't expecting to see bandages on it.
Yeah, like
I want to see what type of shape that scar was in.
But do you think it was like a mental thing, or do you think it was?
100%,
just a mental,
100%.
Yeah. All right, so
100%.
like, but the fight opens, and I just remember this one is kind of like I remember this Diego fight. Like, I could not believe Diego just shot him for a takedown. Not that I couldn't believe it, I just thought it was crazy that he just threw like 4 head kicks in a row. That was like all he just kept throwing head kicks, and then we saw it like his hands were kind of low, but right after he threw the head kicks, and it was a couple seconds went by. He shot in for a takedown, and then it was pretty much cage control for most of the first round. And Joe, even in the obviously in the broadcast, was talking about how he thought it was odd that Rockhold is using this strategy. You know, he thought that Rockhold maybe has the advantage on the feet. He thought Jan Blachowicz might be stronger in the clinch, maybe better on the ground. And I really didn't even agree with Joe, but I just thought that, you know, if you're going to fight, like, I assumed Rockhold would fight more of a stand-up fight than he was trying to.
I agree 100%.
Right, and not that he's better at it. I don't know. I'm just saying that I thought he would have fought that fight, and he didn't.
He moves better, without a doubt.
Right, that's fair. I mean, he definitely has... He has better movement, but his fucking hands are always down. It drives me fucking insane. It drives me insane. His hands are always down. Regardless, right at the end of that round, we saw what happened. They broke the clinch. Jan throws a weird shot that turned him around.
Over top.
Usually,
usually when you break up a clinch, there's always going to be somebody throwing over the top. Always.
Right.
Always.
It was weird that it didn't catch him flush or anything. It hit him kind of like in the middle of his forearm, but it spun him, and then he threw that fucking head kick at the buzzer and rocked Rockhold.
Mm-hmm.
Like Rockhold was maybe follow-up punches from being out. Like he was rocked. He went down. Not saying he couldn't have recovered. I'm just saying 2 or 3 more good ones, it could have been the end of that fucking fight.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
No, you could even see when he went back to the corner. He was sitting down. He was
Wobbling.
blowing out air. You could
Yeah.
see, like, he didn't even use a stool. He just squatted down. I mean, it was...
Yeah, it was.
And then his modeling career just got derailed for a couple months.
Oh, yeah.
That jaw was hanging.
Exactly.
That
Like,
jaw was hanging.
you know what I was impressed by, to be honest? When Rockhold came back out for the second round, and dude, he started swinging like but he had to win that fight. And maybe he thought he did, but this was something I did not see the first time I watched it. Jan, I think he hits him with a counter right, and it was obviously a counter right hook or counter left hook, but he hit him behind the ear, and he actually, the way the camera is, it's hard to see, but he stumbled him. Like, Rockhold was actually hurt again. And I didn't notice it the first time, and I'm like, man, like, he just keeps fucking hurting him. And Rockhold's just going to keep his hands down. And that's just how it went. And then you saw the left hook from a different planet. Rockhold, Josh just said it.
For that clinch.
His jaw fell off of his fucking head. And then he's laying there out ski and fucking gets 2 more.
His eyes were white before he hit the
Oh
ground.
my
They
God,
were
that
just
shit-
wide.
Honestly, like, it's crazy to see that shit. Like, Rockhold is on the ground, I mean, on a different planet, and Jan Blachowicz is completely competent, about to hit you with 2 fucking more hammers. And that shit, like, obviously it's fun to watch as a fan, but it's like, oh man, I don't want to see him take it. But maybe you do. He's talking shit, whatever. It is what it is. It's a fucking UFC. It ain't a different sport, and that's why we watch it. But at the end of that, I remember I told my buddy Tyler Skinner that I think Rockhold will win the fight. I'm not surprised if Jan wins the fight. You know what I mean? Like, I assumed Rockhold would win. I thought maybe a late TKO decision. I assume Rockhold will win the fight, but just the way that he fights, I was not at all surprised he lost. And if I had to bet money, I would have bet on Rockhold, to be honest, and he just got fucking flatlined. That's it. Like, he got flatlined again.
And we thought that might have been knockout of the night until...
Oh, my God. Fuck it. We could talk about... Do you want to talk about who's next, or do you want to talk about the next fight? Because...
there's no... Who knows what's going to be next for anybody in 205 right now, because it's that drained out. Everybody's pulling for Jones and Cormier.
Right.
God forbid Stipe beats Cormier.
That's what I was thinking, which I hope happens, but like...
Just to totally mess it up.
It'll absolutely just throw it in a loop. But
I agree.
And the UFC always comes back from that. Honestly, the only thing I have written down, I have nothing written for Rockhold because I don't think he's going to... I actually do have something written for Rockhold, though I wrote it later.
He's looking at
I will get to that.
Long suspension.
The one I have written for Jan Blachowicz, which I think makes a little sense anyway, is Anthony Smith. They never fought before.
I agree.
So, like, that fight, because they never fought, makes sense. But again, I feel like, okay, say you do the Jan and Anthony Smith fight, regardless of the winner, I still feel like I'd rather see Santos fight Jones again than either of them. I'd rather see him than Anthony Smith again.
Santos is not going to be around for a long time.
I'm just saying in general. Because you're still talking about another fight. I mean, Santos' leg, you saw the
It's
news
gone.
today. He blew his leg out bad.
No, he ain't going to. I'd say it's at least around 2 years before Santos fights again.
Wow.
I'd say about 2 years.
Surprised by that, but it could definitely be, and it's a certain possibility. But again, the Anthony Smith fight for Jan Blachowicz, I think, makes a little bit of sense.
I'm okay with that.
But then I was thinking in my head, like,
Smith is waiting to come back and throw again too, because he knows he messed up in that Jones fight.
yeah,
Especially now, watching how Santos succeeded actually throwing at Jones.
yeah.
Smith's gonna have a bug up his ass.
I kind of agree. And then I thought, well, what happens if Jan Blachowicz and Anthony Smith fight? I think it's time, and I think it's a little early, but I still feel like the way the UFC is right now, why not? Just fucking do it. Do the Johnny Walker-Dominic Reyes fight. They both fucking fight. They're both on high trajectories.
I think you're going to have to give Johnny Walker one more fight and hope he starches somebody again to build that one up.
But like the Dominic Reyes, are you saying?
I'll be geeked out of it. I'll be ready to go, but...
Right.
It's going to be a hard sell for your casual.
I don't know. I think people are pretty on Johnny. I think people are on Johnny Walker more than Dominic Reyes.
100%.
But I'm saying, if you do that fight, again, they're two guys you would want to have an upward trajectory, I guess.
That's also a big jump. Again, I don't like the rankings and all that. That's also a big jump for what you... That's a serious hype train, but you still want to be careful with it.
That's true, and that's
true. You still
true.
want to be careful with that. Because you know, I guarantee it, all the wigs are talking. Let's build it up, Walker and Jones. Build it up. Give it a year and a half. Give it a year. Even a little bit longer than a year and a half. And just let that just...
Because you're in there's no time crunch for it. Because,
and
again...
Johnny Walker's a young boy, too.
And we're talking
Johnny
about...
Jones is not... What is he, 30, 31?
I think 31,
but he's healthy as hell.
Right.
So that boy's not damaging that ring ever.
But we're talking about, too, again, that there's really no time crunch for this Walker Reyes thing to happen, which I think it would be cool. But, like, realistically, even Josh just talking now, thinking about it, like, Jones is going to fight DC next, most likely. If not DC, I honestly think he might fight Stipe before he fights 05 again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's probably the next fight. So there's time for this to brew. There's time for 205 to get down a little. I hate calling it tournaments, but I kind of like to. Like, just do like a little like mini tournaments. Like, you got this guy versus this guy, this guy versus this guy. Winners fight each other, losers fight each other, and then fucking you got a little scramble going on, and you got some clarity at the top at least. But who knows? We'll see what happens. It depends. I would like, and that's the other thing too. If Stipe really beats DC though, don't they just do that immediate rematch? You know what I mean? They can't go for. They can't go know. DC lost to John Jones.
Because I would also think there's a chance that DC might retire if he gets caught and he loses.
You think? I don't think he finishes without that John Jones fight, bro. But if you lose twice to Stipe, you're absolutely done. So there's that's good thought, man. That is good. That's some good talk. Like I don't know either. Like I don't have the answers to it. Quickly before we move on to the next fight that I cannot fucking wait to get to. Luke Rockhold I had written down for. I didn't realize that he broke his jaw when I was writing this and broke his jaw as bad as he did. Well, as bad as he did, he broke his fucking jaw. But I didn't really think about it, put it all together. I had Shogun written down, which I just think would be an interesting fight. Shogun, obviously he's fucking been in the UFC forever. I forget. I think I have it written down. A 4-1 in his last 5 though. Like, which I was surprised to see the stat 4-1 in his last 5 fights, and I don't know. It's a fun one. It's one that sells tickets.
Put that in the same card as Gilbert and Diego.
Yeah, fuck it. Put him main and co-main. Put it on TV. People will watch it on TV. They'll be like, I heard this guy.
How far the mighty have fallen.
Fuck it, dude. It will be fun. I'm just saying, like, for a fight for both of them, again. Dude, Shogun is 4-1 in his last 5. I was shocked to read that.
Yeah, okay, his last loss because Anthony Smith still sent his head sailing.
Well, things happen. People are different. To the fight that I and every single human being on planet Earth, if they have eyeballs in their head, couldn't wait to see, and either had a wildly similar or wildly different reaction to, Ben Askren, Jorge Masvidal. That was the fucking fight, dude.
I still feel like I have so much to say, but I have like no words. I have no words at all. Fun as hell. I was kind of like, for as much as I loved how it ended, I was really upset that it ended like that. Because I'm like, man, I was waiting for this shit for so long. But then, as soon as I was thinking that, Masvidal just won me over this whole planking incident. That was amazing.
Right.
And
that was fucking awesome.
A lot of people were hating on him for that, but why?
I love the count out. I love the count out.
It's the same instance to go back to, and it's what Askren does. And to his credit, he's taken it well. He's been, I deserve it, whatever.
Yeah, I think
that's how he gets under people's skin. But now he was just messing with a true fucking OG, man.
For real,
like a true OG, like. The only thing is, I not to get into too much technique wise, because I'm not the biggest wrestler ever at all. Huh. But I don't understand. It's so weird that once he gets a hold of you, you're in a world of shit.
Askren, of course, yeah.
But the way he goes about getting a hold of you is so ugly.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously saw the Lawler fight.
It's so ugly. It's just everything you're told not to do.
Right.
Put your head down. It's just so
funky.
Weird. It's so
funky
it's
Ben
so
Askren,
weird.
bro. And honestly, I have to say before I even start talking about this one personally that I like both guys. Like
100%.
I'm a fucking huge. Like when Ben got signed to the UFC, I was stoked. I was super stoked. when Jorge, honestly, I always said, and I talk about different guys in the UFC that aren't super popular at the time. I have said Jorge's boxing is some of the best in the UFC, and I still say to this day, Michael fucking Johnson's boxing is some of the best in the UFC. Michael Johnson, 155, not a great record, but has fucking good hands. And, I mean, I'm going a little off topic, but I'm just saying, like, Masvidal, I felt like that for a while. I felt like he was one of the best boxers, and then he just is becoming one of the best mixed martial artists, in my opinion. And we saw it with that knee, and like even when he talked about it in the press conference, he's like, he didn't care if he got taken down. He said he was going to scramble and get up and fucking beat his ass again. And like he believes that. I believe him. I have to believe him. Like
there was an interview, I believe it was with Megan O'Leary. I think it was the day before the fight, and she asked Asker, and she said about, we heard you've been working on your stand up lately. Are we gonna see any of that? And he's, no, probably not. And I'm like, you're in trouble. Like,
but could he just be saying that to talk shit? Like maybe he
no, because we saw that. Because the first thing he did was.
He also got a flying knee through at him and probably was just in absolute.
I just don't know what he. I just don't know what he was thinking because he took at least 3 steps when he was running, and he just.
I was shocked. I was shocked by that too.
We had no words. We had people at my house watching it, and it was literally jaws open, and we just had no words. I couldn't.
We didn't watch them together.
I couldn't believe it.
I was snapping. I was fucking going insane.
You could tell it was building up. I mean, even what was he on the Rogan podcast 2 months ago?
Yeah, and dude, that was the beginning of in my opinion.
You could tell he was so uncomfortable talking about it. He's like, I don't want to talk about this. I don't like this guy. I don't like this.
Just doesn't like him.
And just the quick comments, you could tell he was sick of it. Because Rogan asked him, like, are you going to be able to like, get him off? He said, my balls on his... Whatever he said. And when you make comments, it's just you're so over it. You could tell, like, that boy's under a bad man's skin, man. Deep. Yeah. Very deep.
Absolutely.
Very deep.
That's a great way to put it.
I'm not doubting Asker and can't wrestle. That dude's wrestling is impeccable.
Right. And I actually want to bring this up.
There's hands flying now. Serious hands flying.
For sure. And I want to bring this up because, honestly, I'm on the fence about it either way. This one, I think absolutely not, but I'm curious your thoughts on it. Or just your thoughts in general on lucky strikes in MMA. People talking about that being lucky. I think that is almost anything but lucky.
It wasn't luck. His form was perfect. He timed it perfect.
Thought about doing it beforehand.
I think, I guarantee it that if he didn't see Askren's head duck, it would have been a punch.
You think?
Not that knee. It would have been a punch, not that knee.
Right.
Just my
so
opinion.
What a switch. You think it was just a really good strike?
There's a lot of people that every strike that you throw is not lucky because you thought to throw it. If your eyes are closed and you're firing it, it's different.
Like I think I will bring one up that I think is wildly lucky. Yair Rodriguez, Chan Sung Jung, right at the end of that fight, that spinning back elbow. I think that was just
he still thought to do it though.
I guess, but do you think his head was going to be there? Who knows? Who knows?
Still thought to do it.
I think that was lucky as shit, personally. And I bet on Chan Sung Jung.
Still thought to do it.
And I thought he would win that fight. Regardless of that, we got the best fight we're talking about in a long time right now. Now, I think everyone's seen it, obviously. Literally, your grandmother's seen the fight if you haven't. 5 seconds. Look it up on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, you're insane, too. But 5 seconds, probably a 2.5 second knockout.
Yeah.
Herzog was on the wrong side of the ring.
Was closer.
Yeah, Herzog was on Pluto, and he needed to be on Earth, and he fucking sprinted over. And Ben still ate 2 big ones, which again I'm not a huge fan of, but I'm nothing against Jorge for that. You know what I mean? That's the fucking fight game. But in the press conference, we were talking about this earlier today, just bullshitting. Fucking
I thought he was gonna get up.
Yeah. Jorge in the press conference said he thought.
He also said today too. He said it might have not been today. I just seen it released today. He said, "Valentina is more skilled than I am. I don't know when somebody's out. I'm like a dog. I'm just gonna keep on going."
That's crazy.
All right.
That's crazy. Right. But when he said it in the press conference too, and he said that I thought he was gonna get up. He actually laughed. Like, he chuckled. But before, like, when the Leon Edwards thing, he's like, I was scared for my life, Joe. I don't know what to do. You know he was bullshitting, but he didn't crack. He, like, played his character well. When he was talking about Ben, and he said, I thought he was going to get up, he chuckled right after. Like, he couldn't even hold. He knew he was dead to rights. But that shit still, it's just, I don't know. I love Jorge Masvidal, dude. I love what he's doing. I love where he's at in the sport right now. I love his trajectory. I think that it's kind of similar, but like I feel like it's a little similar to what we're doing to Cerrone. You know what I mean? I feel like I love Jorge Masvidal. I would love to see him get a title shot just because, as a purist, it makes no sense. And honestly, as
Not many fights are making sense these days.
right, and that's kind of where I'm going. It's like I used to be like, oh well, if you're the like Kobe Interim, I'll call him Kobe Interim, got stripped of his interim title. Like Kobe fucking fought for the interim title to make a fight against RDA, and he got stripped of his title. Like they just did that shit to make the fight. So like, not everything makes sense, and I get that. But again, as someone who really likes Masvidal, I've followed him for a long time.
I think Masvidal is a bad matchup for Usman too.
I mean, I love the fight. I honestly love that fight.
You know it down. If that fight would happen, and he would win, give it 3 days. He's gonna be the people's champion. Give it 3 days.
Masvidal? Oh hell yeah!
Give
It's
3
like
days.
it's already happening. Like people didn't know who Masvidal was a year ago, and now, especially after the Till knockout,
Just Google Masvidal Kimbo Slice fights. It's like
that's all you got to see. He's just the realest motherfucker in there, bro. He really is, and it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch. Like it's undeniably fun to watch. His attitude, like, and I get that maybe it comes off as crass or whatever. Like he just doesn't give a fuck. He really doesn't, and that's what makes it real because he really doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And he just thinks what he thinks, and he is who he is, and he's just trying to fight and get paid, and that's who he is, and that's what makes him fucking great.
Yeah.
That's what makes him great. But again, quickly as I was saying, 2-2 in his last 4 fights. He is not on a wild win streak.
it's the way he's winning. I mean, he took out 2 big names in
Great
disgusting
fashion, of course.
fashion.
But it's like, all right, do we talk about Pettis getting a title shot because how he beat Wonder Boy? I mean, no. No, of course not. Of course, no. But I'm saying, devil's advocate, who I love Jorge, and I would have no problem with him getting.
Pettis is in some trouble for his next fight, but that's going to be for a future show.
All right, yeah, we'll definitely get there. But I don't know. I love Jorge. I don't think the title fight makes sense. I wrote down next for him. Well, I actually did on my phone because I was not on my notebook anymore.
I don't even know. It could be.
What did I write? I wrote about Covington, who I know has a fight. Obviously, right, like we have the fight coming up. Whatever Josh said, next month, this month. I don't know. August. I don't want him to fight Kobe Covington because neither of those guys want to fight each other.
Kobe's very open to it.
They both are. They're both open to it, but you know, deep down, they don't give a fuck. But they would prefer not to. And honestly, with what he's doing right now, I would rather just give him not what he wants, but like just give him a different fighter. And here's somebody that I think that we're not talking about enough. I think he's wildly underranked, and for what he's done in the UFC, Ponzinibbio, dude.
No.
No?
Nope.
Why?
Nope.
Do you know how many in a row he's won? Do you want to guess?
It doesn't matter. He's not a good matchup for Masvidal, in my opinion.
Do you want to guess how many he won in a row?
Doesn't matter. Let me
7!
see.
He won 7 in a fucking row. He just starched Neil Magny in the main event, which again, I don't think Neil Magny is the fucking next coming, but I'm just saying, 9-2 in the UFC, won 7 in a row. Let's do that one. Let's do that fight. Jorge Masvidal, Santiago Ponzinibbio.
Takes it.
Huh?
I don't think Masvidal takes it.
I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either the way it's ranked. I like that fight. I fucking really like that fight. I think Masvidal, the tear he's on, personally, I think he wins that fight.
Who's
but I
Woodley
really
have
like it.
next?
Huh?
Who's Woodley have next?
I like that fight too. That was the other one. Like, that's a
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
Eliminator.
that makes it does it does, and I agree. I think maybe that's the one. Maybe that's the fight. And
You put that as a 5-round main event.
oh, exactly. I agree. I completely agree. Yeah, that one's on like. That's obviously a TV main event, but a big TV main event. Mm-hmm. That's one that you're like, oh shit, like I got to see this. Mm-hmm. And I like that fight. I do. That is one. I think Ponzinibbio again. I just think he's underrated. Regardless, whatever my opinion, doesn't matter. But the Woodley fight, ranking wise and just literal recent fight wise, makes sense. We talked about Ben Askren, who we both said he should probably fight next, and I think this fucking is the only fight to make. But I seen a lot in the media. They were talking about Askren Till, which I think makes no sense personally. No.
Askren's gonna drop pretty steadily in those rankings.
I don't know. He's
gonna drop.
He's gonna drop, but what was he, 5? Was he 5? He ain't gonna go to 13. He's gonna go to 7,
No, he's
9.
not gonna go. Where are we at? He's gonna drop to 10. I'd say 10, 11.
Well, I don't know.
Give me Askren and Maya. Or I'm gonna be honest, your boy Ponzivia. That he's gonna drop to that, dude.
I doubt it. But I think that, dude, the Askren Maya fight, that's the one to make. It
makes mountains of sense.
It does. It like Askren Till makes no sense. There are two guys that you have popularity, at least in the UFC, that you want to see win again. It doesn't make sense to pit them against each other. And we've seen for the longest time that, like, Damian Maia is not, like, he's not a ticket seller. He's great at what he does, and it's literally a great guy at what he does versus fucking Ben Askren. Great at what he does. So
that'll be interesting.
I love that fight.
I'm intrigued by it. We said it earlier. I'm intrigued by it. I don't know. I just think Ben's got to work on those hands, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, at least throw a feint. I don't.
Yeah, no. I mean,
put it out there, man.
It's it's true. It's absolutely true.
I wasn't shocked that Masvidal won. I was just shocked in the whole way it went down.
Right. Like the knockout was insanity.
Like,
it really was, dude. All right, so we both had to take a piss, and this is our first rodeo, but we'll figure it out in the future. And honestly, people got to piss, so it ain't that big of a deal. But honestly, we were finishing up about the Askren thing, and we both talked about it right afterwards. Like, there's really not much more to say. We talked about potential opponents. We talked about the fight itself, and obviously a great fight, a fun one to watch. I can't wait to see Jorge fight again. And
I think it's going to be a quick turnaround. I think it's going to be very quick.
For Jorge? Yeah. I hope so.
The boy wants to scrap.
I hope so. I hope we do see him soon, too. And, like, I don't care if it's a number one contender. I'd like to just see him fight again soon.
It's going to be Colby or Tyron.
Yeah.
100% in my opinion.
Two that I like. Again, I think Ponzinibbio was getting a little snub here, but it is what it is. He ain't really in the limelight. He hasn't fought in like a year and a half. So it's not the most ridiculous thing to not talk about Ponzinibbio, but it's still 7 in a row. It's a lot of wins.
Marketing.
True.
Marketing.
True. But again, that's it for the Askren one. We don't really have much more to say. Move on to, obviously, Nunes and Holly Holmes. Both of us talked about it a little bit too beforehand.
I had home. I had Holly, and I would think shocking knockouts for people who are on the tail end of their career. Let's take Askren out of this. He's going to be back. He's going to be fine.
Right.
If there was, so you have Rockhold and Holly. In my opinion, if there is one person, if you had to pick, who do you think it's time to retire? Probably Holly.
Yeah, I have really no issue with that.
I think I don't want to take anything away from her pedigree because her boxing and her kickboxing pedigree is so good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that she just happened to be that person that exposed Rousey.
Right.
I think if somebody exposed Rousey first, she's never having that belt.
She's
never having that title.
I thought of in the past.
That was just such a gifted matchup.
I mean, and two, like, she had the title for a little while, of course, we could talk about, but honestly, one of the fights that I think about in hindsight now that we saw what happened to Ronda Rousey and we saw what, happened after she lost the title, one of the fights I think about is Kat Zingano. I think Kat could have given her a really good fight, dude. And she just didn't. And she got armbarred, and that was like one of the really quick, I think 14, 17-second armbars or whatever.
It was quick.
But Kat, I just think her skill set, Kat beat Amanda Nunes. Like, and again, we're not talking about the same Amanda Nunes. I get that. She's better. She certainly is better.
That's a bad chick right now, man.
Kat is fucking tough.
Kat's bad chick. I'm talking about Nunes.
Absolutely.
Right now.
Kat has always been one of my favorites personally. Like, I'm a big Kat Zingano fan. And even her last fight, she got kicked in the fucking eye with a toenail, and she, you know what I mean? Like, that is what it is. It's not representative of who she is as a fighter. And again, like I said, I don't think that Rousey fight really was either in hindsight, now seeing what happened to Rousey. Regardless.
Right, don't even get me going.
All right, yeah, we don't have to go on that.
Great judo player, amazing jiu-jitsu, but her stand-up is
Mm-hmm.
so below UFC. I hope she never comes back, so it's going to tarnish her name even more.
No, yeah, I don't think she comes
Her
back.
stand-up is very amateurish.
For sure.
Very
For sure.
amateurish.
It's really not even a question. I mean, we saw it in the Holly fight, like one of like it's like a meme and a thing that's been in pop culture forever.
Please tell me I know where you were going with it. Please tell me it's the Hello Joe meme. Did you see that one?
No.
When that fight happened and Holm was going against the cage and Ronda threw that ridiculous, it was just a sloppy over.
Oh, the sidestep.
And
fucking,
she dropped to her knee.
Yeah, that's what I was talking
It looked
about
like she was
actually.
going
But
like this. It just so happened that the broadcast crew was right there. So you have Holly Holm is
on the other side
casually
of her,
walking
right.
out of the way. So you have, if you're Joe Rogan, I'm Ronda Rousey, and she's like on her knee like this, and they just typed in "Hello Joe." So,
that is exactly what I'm talking about. I didn't know about the Hello Joe meme, but that's what I meant. Like
I'll find it.
It's just the trip and this. Like it was just
Her boxing
embarrassing.
is so bad. It's
Embarrassing.
so bad.
But now, again, in hindsight, it's easy to say, I guess, that maybe she never was the. I mean, not maybe. I mean, it sincerely
she
wasn't the
did her
best.
thing. She did her thing, but then she fought. Like, I don't know how we're getting on this sidetrack. When that thing happened, it was pretty much who's this girl fighting Ronda Rousey? It's like,
Right.
you need to look at her boxing and kickboxing pedigree because that's who this girl is. Like,
Right. I'll say I will 100% say when Ronda Rousey fought Holly Holm and lost, I was shocked.
Nope.
I was fucking shocked.
Not at all.
I
I don't bet on fights enough, and you know I don't.
Yeah. No.
I put a lot of money on that. Shocked to the point that I had to be somewhere that night. I didn't watch the fight, and I still put money on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought Ronda Rousey was going to destroy her. I just thought personally, like, she's beat every other fucking girl.
You got swept up in it.
But you know what? I don't even know if it was me more than her and her camp. She fought a horrible fight. I'm not going to go back and say, they fought again. She beat her.
She fought a horrible fight because you couldn't take her down, and she has horrible stand-up.
I don't know. Did she really even try to take her down?
Yeah, and she got pushed right off.
I'll have to see it. I'll have to watch it
If
again.
you
to
have
be
horrible
honest.
stand-up, and
She was standing with her though, for in my opinion, way longer than she should have, and
yeah,
just
physically. I mean, she was getting outclassed.
I'll see. I'll have to watch
If
it
you
again.
have horrible stand-up and you
it
can't
really.
take somebody down, you're gonna have a horrible fight.
Right. I don't
It's like
remember
South
trying to
Park,
take her down.
Pizza and French fry when you're skiing. You're gonna have a bad time.
Fucking pizza, French fry. There we go.
If
Shout
you
out
pizza
South
when you're
Park.
supposed to French fry, you're gonna have a bad time.
Let's just get off the slopes. Get off the slopes. No, that's a great episode. But honestly, yeah, I guess I don't know. Listen, we're talking about, but here's the thing too now, which is a little crazy, but like Amanda Nunes is the best female fighter ever of all. I mean, there's no question really. There's no question. She beat Cyborg like she beat Cyborg. She just beat Holly Holmes again. She keeps doing what she has to do. And we're not talking about her even close to what we're talking about Ronda Rousey. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's because Ronda Rousey had. So disrespect to Nunes, but she's a little bit easier on the nonsense like that. Like,
right.
She has the whole story behind her.
She could speak wildly fluent English, which again, Nunes is good English, but not perfect.
She's a bad chick.
Yeah.
She's a bad chick. She punches like a dude. I mean, she's a bad woman.
She's the best ever. But we're just, and again, I want to say she's the best now. Right.
It's way too early, especially in mainstream women's MMA, to say the best ever,
of course.
Because now the only reason, I mean, I could sit here till midnight and go off about this, but if you have men's MMA and you got people in different promotions, they could compete at the UFC. We're seeing that.
Right.
The females in the UFC
not even close.
are here.
Right.
And the non-female, it's so down.
Even Invicta, dude, which
I
is
don't
obviously,
even want to hear it, but they try to sell it so hard, and it's like
it's bad.
It's not.
Like Invicta girls come over. I mean, we saw Megan Anderson. Like Megan Anderson is one that like, whatever. But again, the Kat Zingano fight, she fucking kicked her in the eye with her toenail. Like that didn't show much.
Things like that do happen. I mean,
right, and I'm not down on Megan Anderson for it. It wasn't her fault.
Who cut Couture years ago? It was the biggest, one big main event. Was it Belfort? and Couture got his eyelid cut.
Oh, Randy, yeah. That was fucking
Shit happens
for sure. But I'm just saying that like that is her biggest claim in the UFC, which is kind of a shit, like not a shit win. I'm not saying Megan Anderson wouldn't have won, but I'm saying she was one of the Invicta. Megan Anderson Invicta was
but
like
you see, if you have
one
big
of
wins
the
like
trains.
that, you're gonna get pushed ahead. Now this is why.
But she fought.
If anybody has a brain on their head, different gender, different everything. This is why people are high. Masvidal had a big flash win, but you know the dude's a tough son of a bitch. So let him have that flash win.
And comes the fight, and I agree. Again, and I thought about this fight too. Like I was talking about who's next for both. Holly Holmes, like I don't
probably hang it. She's.
I don't know.
The mystique is gone. I would rather see Holly Holm. You know what? I mean, Dana White is saying he's gonna start. He's still gonna do this whole Zuffa boxing.
Do that, man. Do that. Be the first champion.
Let Holly Holm do that because that's where she's at.
That's
where she's at.
I like Holly Holm. I do.
She seems like a really, really sweet girl. She does.
And she's a genuinely decent fighter. But and again, here's the other thing in the UFC, which is fucking not frustrating, but it is what it is. The girls, even the good girls, are worlds above the 4th and 5th ranked girls. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I was just saying.
Right. Like Nunez is so fucking far above 5 that like it doesn't even make sense. Like if she fought number 5, like remember she fought Raquel Pennington? I saw the fight, and honestly, before, and I did a little research on it, and I was a little less concerned about it, but like when they made that fight, I'm like, are they fucking, is this a joke? Like, and no disrespect to Raquel Pennington, I'm just saying, like, Raquel Pennington was like, I don't know what her record was, but it was like 9-7. It was like, and she's fighting for a world title. Again, we saw that fight. We saw what happened. She got absolutely destroyed. And again, nothing against Raquel Pennington, but the gap between the skill of her and Nunez is out of this world. It's out of this fucking world. And we can't pretend it's not, in my opinion. Like, we can't pretend that, like, oh, well, it makes sense for Nunez to fight 2 because 2 is so good. But, like,
you gotta be honest
is...
with it. I mean, I don't have much to say about it. The only... There's going to be contract issues with... I have 2 fights. The only 2 that I could be interested in for her. One of them is going to be contract issues with. Let's run Cyborg back.
Right, and that's the one they're talking about the most right now.
And then it's Valentina. Meet somewhere. Meet somewhere.
Dirty,
meet
real
somewhere.
dirty.
Meet somewhere. It'll be a solid co-main event.
Yeah.
3 rounds. The fight ain't going to go 3 rounds, to be honest, in my opinion. So run it, co-main event.
Who do you think Nunez beats her still? Bad?
I don't know.
Really?
I don't know. Valentina's...
I like Valentina. I do.
I don't know, man.
But she has to go up then, and it's... I don't know, man. I like women's MMA. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like sitting here saying I hate it.
No, there's just a big gap.
But you know what I don't... Like,
for how hard and big the gap is at men's 205...
Right.
That's so easy compared to women's MMA right now.
Yeah, that's a very good and true point. Like, honestly, the thing... And I'm going to sound like a fucking critic saying this. It is what it is. Like, at women's MMA right now, like, I do not... And it's rude and it is what it is. I do not care to see 13 fight 14. Like, I don't want to... I don't care. It's... Like, even the Claudia Galdea, Randa Marcos fight was dog shit. And everyone will say it was dog shit. And again, are there men fights that were dog shit? Of course there are. But it is a lot of women's fights that are just play it too safe. Don't go for this. You either have to be a submission specialist or an absolute fucking Mike Tyson. And if you're not in women's MMA, I'm sorry, like, it's just fucking boring. It's boring. They just don't fight the same. They don't hit the same. They don't strike this. And I'm not saying they're not as skilled. There's some women that I think are wildly more skilled than men.
Yeah, it's just but there's a big drop off.
Huge drop off. And that's the point. That really is that's the point of this that would save my ass from getting reamed out, is that there is a drop off. There are wildly skilled women, but after like the 3 or 4 wildly skilled women, you're talking about dog shit. We're talking about dog shit. Whereas in the men's divisions, you drop past 4 in welterweight, middleweight, even heavy. I'll give you a heavyweight.
Yeah, heavyweight.
You're talking about guys that can crack, like
heavyweight.
Guys that can contend for titles.
I mean, think of you got Derek Lewis in heavyweight.
I know. He's a good example. And again, this I didn't really mean it to, but like this became less of a Holly Holmes, Amanda Nunez thing. But what's there to talk about? We saw the fight. I thought Holly was going to win, personally.
Agree.
I did.
Agree.
I'll say that. I thought she was going to win. I thought that she could stay away from her, work her jab a little more, work a lot of kicks a little more. But it just, even the way she lost, though, like she threw that, she was waiting. She threw that kick and she was unsure. And it was just that split second she was unsure and she got fucking cracked.
That's how it goes.
And that's how it goes. Again, nothing. That is what it is. And Amanda Nunes is a fucking. She's a G. She is a psychopath. She could fight. But Holly got beat. It is what it is. Now what? I don't know for either of them, to be honest. Cyborg, I guess that's a fight for Nunes. Holly, I have nothing. I have nothing for her.
The whole Zuffa boxing was just a far reach. I don't think it's ever going to happen. Just hang it up. You got your credentials elsewhere. Nobody's gonna knock it. Just hang it up.
Mm-hmm.
Just hang it up. It's starting to go downhill now. Don't look as bad as Ronda did on her way out.
Exactly. Yeah. Just don't rouse yourself, and that's probably fair. I think we talked about that way longer than we expected to. Way longer than I expected to, and honestly, it is what it is. Then to the main event, which the main event,
it's getting a lot of beef, and it shouldn't.
Right. We were talking about this.
I think it's getting a lot of beef from your typical beer-swilling fans who sit in their couch covered in nacho cheese saying, I could do this, I could do that, but you're going to get into a fight in the local pub down the road and probably get smoked because you don't know what the hell you're doing. It was a technical fight. It was good to see John Jones in a technical fight where he looked confused at times.
I agree.
It was good. It was good. And watching the fight live, I was frustrated because Santos was not throwing those flurries with hands that much more. And then we just found out why. The boy's knee is totally gone. So it's just totally, MCL, PCL, ACL, and meniscus. Now, you really don't need your meniscus that much.
Right.
Those other three, however, you kind of need them. I mean, you kind of need them.
And to fight at the championship level, I mean, I would take whatever the fuck I could take on it.
So now it went from frustration to like this boy's tough. Like he's tough. Now I do know he was a power trooper in the Brazilian army since he was 18. I think he was in for.
Actually, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
I think he was in for. Don't count me. I'll play it safe and say between 9 and 12. It was a long time, but he was in since he was 18. As soon as I heard that, and it's easy to say, everybody says they're going to do this against John Jones.
Right.
Once I heard that, I'm like, all right, this guy's going to swing. But as soon as that knee went, and apparently it was damaged before the fight even started, which is usually the go-to excuse, but then you read a medical report like that,
right?
And it's true. I mean, his knee is so down, you would immediately say, "Oh, injury, run it back."
Right.
But where the hell is this? Where are we going to be at in 2 years?
Exactly. And what I was going to say to you, actually,
John Jones could be retired, or John Jones could be. Again, I'm going on a limb here, one extreme, the other. The next Silva, who's ranked 15 now,
right?
Crazy
shit could happen.
It
could happen.
I mean, it's really not going to. My personal opinion is John Jones is going to be this myth creature that we're telling our grandkids about. Now, to be honest with you, I mean,
it just depends how long he stays in. And the thing I was going to ask you though about the fight you were just talking about,
if John is sober as he's saying he is right now, everybody from heavyweight to light heavyweight is screwed.
Maybe. And I'm going to say to you quick, the thing we brought up, watching that fight, did you, as you're watching the fight, like live, real time, did you realize that Santos's knee was out or no?
It was very obvious.
I thought so too.
It was very obvious.
Did you hear Jones in his post-fight press conference? He said, they said, what do you think about Santos' injury? He goes, what are you talking about? And then he goes, like his leg. He goes, his foot. Like Jones thought he broke his foot.
You see, at that time, there's when it's actually going on, you're not going to be able to pinpoint.
Right, and I agree on that. Like there's commentary and shit, but the way he was falling, like the way he was
falling in the moment live, you could get confused with his foot. You could. Way I'm talking as his opponent, not watching it there casually in a room hanging out.
I was just saying, I don't know if John Jones is bullshitting or being sincere, but I could not imagine.
I don't know. Personally, I think John Jones is if we get big enough, I hope to talk to him about it one day. I think John Jones is one of the most skilled fighters ever.
For sure.
But I also think overall, across the board in all sports, I think he's one of the most condescending people ever. Point blank, period.
I just think it depends on which John Jones you're looking at. And honestly, too, this is another thing I read online. And this is.
I think he's a prick. But again, if you're John Jones, you're kind of allowed to be a prick.
For sure.
Who's gonna tell you not to be?
But like this is conjecture online right now. But people are saying about the PED thing in John Jones getting caught with PEDs, and they're talking about fights where he looks lackluster. Obviously, bringing the Santos one up because it just happened.
That's obviously taking credit away from Santos, though.
Is it?
100%.
I think it is.
The guy fought him with a jellyfish knee.
But number one,
he did well.
Number one, could John Jones not beat the piss out of that guy? I think he won.
Some people.
I think he won.
I don't think he won.
We'll talk about that in a second. But I do want to bring up the Ovin St. Preux fight. Do you remember that? Ovin St. Preux has been.
OVP is not a good match for John Jones ever.
John Jones looked like dick against him. And again,
John Jones took that fight easy.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Now we're talking Ben Askren. Oh, he took it easy on me. Listen, I am not. I have no opinion on it. I really don't. I'm just saying it's out there that John Jones has been on PEDs. Again, the Gus fight. The Gus fight. Here's what I thought. There should be a documentary on the Gus fight.
That's another reason why I say Santos run it back again. The knee being gutted. That's
right.
John Jones is also, in my opinion, MMA-wise, the smartest fighter to ever fight. That guy's IQ for fighting is through the roof. He fights not me. It is.
No, but his brain for fighting is fucking dog shit.
He fights Santos again. That shit's over inside 3 rounds.
No,
just like Gus.
But here's the thing.
Everybody thought Gus is gonna come out. He's gonna do this, and he made Gus look like.
Here's why I'm saying there should be a documentary on the Gus fight, because I sincerely think Gus was John Jones' Buster Douglas moment. He was shocked by how he fought. He was doing shit. He was partying. He wasn't taking it seriously. And then he got Buster Douglas, but he came out on top.
And look what happened in the rematch. I just said this. Look what happened in the rematch.
But I think he's doing it again. Look at the Santos fight. Listen, if John Jones is just sincerely taking it safe the whole time, I don't believe it for a fucking second, dude.
John Jones is a killer. If he wanted to destroy that leg, he could have, but because he was worried about Santos's hands.
I don't think he was worried about that leg, though. With that leg, what's he gonna again? And I am not taking anything. I think Santos won the fight. I still think Santos won that fight.
Santos won 1 and 2. Jones won 3, 4, and 5.
Here's the other thing I want to get into. Of course, talking about that fight. I read online a lot of things I was reading online. Is a lot of people. You said Santos won 1 and 2, right?
In my opinion, yes.
Right, and I agree. Santos won 1 and 2. I thought Jones won 3 and 4, and I thought Santos won 5. The round that is in most question online is round 2. Oh, everyone's giving Santos 5.
I agree. No, I agree.
But I think 2 was close. I remember 2 was close.
That was the biggest debate at my house that night.
2 was close.
Shout out to Brian Finneran on that one because he's saying Jones won 2, and I said no.
See, but that's the thing. If you thought Jones won 2 and you thought Jones won 5, it could have been complete. Like Dana White coming out. I love and I hate Dana White. Like he comes and says some stupid ass shit. But like he literally came in after that fight. He goes, "If you scored that for Santos, you should never judge again."
He's gonna say that. He's
right, and he wanted Jones to win.
His boy, he's gonna say that.
But it's not absurd to score it for Santos. It really isn't, and it's not absurd to score it for Jones. That is one of those fights that you cannot. If you call it a robbery either way, you should never watch a fucking fight again. It's not a robbery.
Won, I would have said, "Oh shit, okay, that's all right. I get that." But he didn't do enough in round 5.
I think he did. I think he was the only one who did anything.
Maybe it'll be one of those fights. I'll have to go back and watch with the sound off, and just watch that way. But
that is a good point because I would bring up that I remember watching Jones Gus 1 live. I scored it for John Jones. No. Every subsequent time I watched it, I scored it for Gus.
I had Gus winning that fight, and I was pissed.
Every time I watched it after, though, I scored it for Gus. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't change. Every time I watch, this is actually even during live, but like Diaz McGregor 2, tie. Every single fucking time it's a tie. It's a tie or Diaz win.
I have Diaz.
That is all I have for it.
Now we're entering Triple G and Canelo territory, and don't even get me going on that because.
But I'm just saying, like, there is obviously some subjectivity to it. But like, here's my biggest thing, and again, like,
I think there's a lot of brand subjectivity going to this. You think the UFC? I mean, we're talking some pretty illegal things, but you think the UFC is going to let Conor McGregor lose 2 times in a row to Nate Diaz? Not a chance in hell. Not a chance in hell.
Honestly, though,
Not
like
a
even
chance.
and we've seen bad decisions. Do you think they let these happen? These happen? Honestly,
I don't think that. I think we've seen bad decisions, yes, but I think that. I mean, we're really running it back now. McGregor Diaz too. It's a terrible decision. Terrible decision.
I don't think it's a terrible decision because I had a 10-8 for Diaz and I still had him drawn.
Here comes all the McGregor fanboys all pissed.
Listen,
off.
I have the only fight kit I have is Conor McGregor's, but I thought Diaz at least tied that fight. Personally, and like our buddy Tony, we talk about the fight all the time, and he talks about Diaz getting knocked down early, and he's like, "Well, he got knocked down this many times." I'm like, "Was he hurt? He wasn't hurt."
It's not about the knockdown. It was either round 2 or 3. It was
when Diaz
total.
put the pieces on him, and if there was 20 more seconds left in that round, Conor McGregor would have been fucking a puddle.
Mm-hmm.
That was the round. That was the 10-8 round, not Diaz getting clipped and falling and getting up.
No.
That ain't a 10-8.
No.
And 10-8 round. Shut up. Hey, but seriously though.
Shit.
Oh shit. But sincerely, like, but I guess I'm way off track. We're both way off track. But like, getting back to the main point,
Very off track.
we're talking about the Jones
guys
fight.
may never fight again. So
Yeah.
very off track.
Yeah, super off track. But sincerely though, the Jones fight, there was at least some subjectivity to it, and there was no 10-8 round. Like, there wasn't one 10-8 round. If anyone called the 10-8 round, I don't know what you're talking about.
See,
There was no 10-8 round. You cannot tell me there was.
no, I just think that somehow it's never going to be fixed. It's never going to be fixed. I also love and hate MMA George can't even talk MMA judging because it's not out of the realm for a champion to lose a decision. Now you go into boxing, especially back in the glory days of the heavyweight division, for a challenger to beat the champion by decision, you need to legit club the shit out of them.
Right.
I never liked that.
No, I don't like it either.
But now we're starting to see a little bit of weird things. I'll be honest with you. I like watching, and you'll vouch for it, a lot of the regional shows over the UFC.
Yeah, the regional shows rock.
Because there's no behind the scenes of, we cannot let this go. We cannot do it. No,
right.
You're fighting to get to this point.
It is what it is, yeah. You win or you lose, you still fucking... It's the same fight regardless. And it doesn't matter to the promoters, really. Like, it doesn't matter if X wins over Y. It just is what it is, and then you move on. And guess what? Now you promote X instead of Y. Or you promote Y instead of X. Like, it's just your next big guy. And again, it's all in the regional scene, and that shit is fucking cool. If you've never went to see a regional show, honest to God, go see a regional show. If you're an MMA fan, excuse me, that shit is fire. Like,
make sure it's a good one. There are a lot of shit promotions for regional shows.
Even still, just go see one live. Like, especially if you've never seen never seen MMA live, and you're like a big UFC fan, go see a regional show. Like, that shit is fucking cool. And go to a good one. Go to. I was
gonna say tri-state area. You have Ring of Combat. If you watch the UFC, you know what Ring of Combat is right now.
Right.
But promotions that you're not gonna know about: tri-state area, Stellar Fights, Art of War.
Oh yeah.
Pennsylvania Cage Fight. It's in this area, the tri-state. That's where it's at.
Right. I mean, you don't want to go to fucking some bum show, I guess, but like still, like there are so many that are so good around here because there's so many. Like, dude, Jersey, New York, you know it. Fucking everyone knows it. Like New York, Jersey, PA. Fucking there are so many good fighters around this area that, like, honestly, if you went to these regional shows 3 years ago, 10 years ago, you're seeing Aljamain Sterling. You're seeing Jimmy Rivera. Like, you're seeing these guys in the UFC because that's where they come from. They come from here. And it is known by the UFC. It's not like it's a secret. Like, this shit is shown on Fight Pass. Like they show it on their platform
Ring of
because
Combat's
these are the
on
next
Fight Pass,
guys,
yeah.
dude.
Ring of Combat's on Fight Pass.
And that's a big up to local MMA just because it fucking is cool and it's great. If you haven't seen one, and especially if you've never seen a fight at all, go see that. And even if you have seen a fight, go see a local one. That shit is just it's different. It's such a cool environment. It really is.
100%.
Yeah. But the Jones fight, is that it? Like, is that it for that one? Who's next? Who's next for Santos? Who's next for Jones again?
What's next for Santos is a full knee construction.
Right, the surgery and recovery.
He needs full knee reconstruction. Jones, I don't. Right. What are you gonna do? We spoke about this. I don't.
What do you do? You fight?
DC wins against Stipe. You have to run it back again. Does Jones?
Right.
Now this is where
that's where it gets fucked up.
Does Jones deserve? And now again, we're not. The rankings don't mean nothing. You know, we're going back to this again. So the current day and age of this product, if DC wins because of the rivalry and this and that, does Jones deserve an immediate shot at heavyweight? Only because of the history.
Right.
He doesn't deserve one against Stipe.
No, I don't think so.
So,
but I think again, we're just talking about this right now. Like Cormier deserves it back to Stipe. Like they almost have to fight again. But I honestly think, regardless of what happens in that fight,
Jones wants to fight in December.
Regardless of what happens in the fight, I truly feel Jones fights the winner, regardless of what happens, because you cannot come up with another competitor at 205 that quick.
Not right now.
And DC, he might just retire to the fucking pressure.
I truly 100% believe Johnny Walker will be the person to beat John Jones. 100% believe it. But it's not going to happen anytime soon.
I don't know.
There's no way you could sell a 12 versus champ. There's no way.
Well, the division is fucking...
Yeah.
Again.
It's dog shit.
But Walker, Reyes... Dude, Reyes is...
Don't try to sell me Reyes right now.
Dude, Dominic Reyes is fucking... I think he's ranked ahead of Johnny Walker.
Oh, he is. Certainly.
He beat Volkanovski here.
By 8. One of the most heavily overrated 205ers.
Maybe.
And he is.
Maybe.
He is.
Beat the piss out of him. Listen, I like Johnny Walker a lot. I fucking want Johnny Walker to be the guy.
Reyes is 4, Johnny Walker's 12. That's
the rankings?
Yes.
I can't believe that,
could easily be sold from a champion to a 12 with Johnny Walker than a champion versus Reyes at 4. 100%.
Well, then fight each other, bro. And that's the next one in line.
Johnny Walker destroys him.
Probably. Maybe. I don't know. That's why we fucking watch a sport, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we see it. Because it is, who knows? You never know. Honestly, Johnny Walker right now is super exciting.
Even, it's funny to say
Dominic Reyes is exciting.
You know, we're sitting here saying 205 is dog shit, but it's only dog shit because the champion is that damn good. That's impressive, man. Like
true that. There are no competitors, or it's no title changing hands. I mean, he's beaten everyone that's come to the door, and that's what you got.
Whether he had his personal issues and he came back, or whether he still competed with his personal issues, he just.
The only other division I feel like it's like that at all really is kind of like heavyweight, like where you have like JDS is always at the door, or like Kane is always at the door.
I think JDS is gonna leave that door.
Probably.
And also, again, we're getting way ahead of ourselves. Cormier just said he's very open to fighting Francis Ngannou. Now when he fought,
give me that one too, dude.
When he fought Rumble and he caught that punch, he did a whole tumble set. I don't think you're doing a tumble set. You get hit by Francis Ngannou like that. You're just going.
But when Francis fought Stipe, we saw what happened. I like that fucking fight though. I like that fight. Let's end on that because we went over literally everything we could have, and honestly talk way longer than I expected us to, but it was fucking dope, and we'll be back. We'll absolutely